All right, chat. Are we ready for Patrick? Can we blast some emotes? Can we get him excited a little bit? And then I'll bring him on. This is IT security guard. I'm going to drop his info in the chat. He's a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for, holy crap, for 6-7 years now. He's one of the first people that I collaborated with and met through bug bounties. So let's bring him on and welcome him to the stream. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hello, hello, hello. How's it going?
Dude, you sound great. You look like a pro.
Thank you so much. Is it working?
It is working. Chat, Sweet. Can you hear Patrick? Let me know if you can hear him. Let's give it a sec. I'm going to blast your audio a little bit more. It sounds like you're a little low on my end. How you doing, man? How's life?
Fantastic. What about yours?
It's going all right, man. Not bad. I'm kind of tired of being, in quarantine and having to watch what I do with life, but I know that there are people that are having it a lot worse than I am, so I can't complain.
Very true. At least we have some of those.
Not yet. Not yet. I haven't gotten mine yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
Before we jump into the interview, man, I know you very well. A lot of people that are in here may know you from some of our collaboration in the past and you on Twitter. Tell me, who are you? What are you doing right now with life, like as a job, and how long have you been in bug bounties?
Okay, so I'm Patrick. I'm 29 years old. I come from Germany, and right now I'm currently leading the Triage team over here in Europe, in EMEA, like the portion we have over here. And I've been doing bug bounties probably since 2012.
Damn. 8 years. Time goes by quick, man.
It's been a while.
How did we meet? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. So I think you were in you were doing triage for a program back then, and I submitted something. You were unable to reproduce it properly, and so you DM'd me on Twitter, and I think that's how we get to know each other.
Do you remember what we did with that bug later? That's where it all started, right?
Yeah. I think we went on and used it like everywhere we can find.
I mean, it's been long enough for us to talk about what was up, but what was it? It was like a XXE, and we can't tell the company names, just remember that. But
yeah, sure. It was an XXE in a docx file, so the Microsoft Office file. And basically every site back then which had to do with recruiting and
jobs and resumes,
jobs and everything, they had to sort of parse this docx file. And for those of you unaware, a docx file is basically nothing more than a structured XML file. And what we did was what we did was including our XXE payloads in there, upload them to the site, wait for the backend to parse it, and get our connection back.
Do you remember the day you almost shit your pants in college because you opened it on your MacBook Pro and it worked on the Apple productivity apps? And then we went and did almost every productivity app that Apple owned, we found XXE in. I mean, rest in peace. We could have made a fuck ton of money from that if it was today, but back then they told us, thank you, have a good one, thumbs up.
And that's literally it. Yeah, so I accidentally opened it on my MacBook back then in university, and then I just saw this IP address popping up which was my own, and I was like, holy shit, this is also vulnerable. Like, we need to report this to Apple right now. And then we also found out that I think the mobile version was vulnerable too.
The email version was vulnerable. Apple numbers, what is it? Pages, iBooks, books. We went after it. I think that blog post is somewhere on my website, I think, still, if I haven't taken it down. But yeah, fun times, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, how did you get into bug bounties? Well, let's start with hacking first. How did you get into hacking? When was it? How did you get introduced to the idea of hacking?
So I probably was very early when my father used to block my internet access back in the day. He's a teacher and he wanted, his son not to be influenced by all the bad things that happen on the internet. So he tried to limit the access to the internet for several hours, you know, just a little time frame where I have access to. And he used the software back then, and I spent literally the hours I had on the internet to find out how to bypass this protection thing that he had.
So it wasn't much about hacking. It was mostly like being a kid, wanted to be on the computer.
Yes, like you know, yeah, you know, all my friends were on ICQ back then, or MySpace, you know, just chatting, having a good time. And I was the only one only be there for like a couple of hours a day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to bypass that. And that really got me into hacking at the age of 12 or 13. And then I haven't done much, to be honest. And later in life, I picked it up again because I was just interested in it. It was the times when Backtrack was a thing,
rest
you know.
Peace.
Rest in peace. Today, it's called Kali Linux.
Yep.
And I met some amazing people.
You're showing your age, dude. You're showing your age right now.
Oh, unfortunately. And back then there were just, you know, great people on the forums. I had a lot of questions and they were, you know, so kind to answer them all. And at one point in my life when I joined university, like my initial plan was never to get into IT. I wanted to become a teacher for history.
History teacher. Oh, that's why we have so many history talks with you. Okay, that makes sense now. Go on.
But that really never worked out for me, and so I did my computer science degree in what was it called? Computer networking.
Okay.
It was like a mixture of, you know, networking, IT, and security. And when I started in university, I was broke as hell, as you can imagine.
College student, yep.
Call it a student. And, you know, I played around with the idea to make sort of a IT security consultant company.
Okay.
And I named it IT Security Guard, you know, just because it has IT security in the name, and guard, which always sounds cool.
Okay.
And I couldn't find any jobs with it in the beginning. So I started doing homepages. But then I got annoyed by customers always wanted those last minute changes to their homepages and everything. And one day I found out about the idea of cross-site scripting and sort of fell in love with it a little. And, you know, then I just poked around, played with it. And I think one day I stumbled over a tweet from, it has to be Franz Rosen.
Like, probably.
He's been around for ages. And I think he submitted something to PayPal. And, you know, then I thought to myself, why not try this at PayPal myself? You know, just pop it in everywhere I could find, like form field, and see if it comes back. And it did. So I made quite some money on PayPal, just, you know, cross-site scripting back in the day. And then I slowly, you know, developed myself and tried to find more severe things on PayPal, IDORs, and, you know, whatnot, misconfigurations.
We'll talk about those in a little bit. But what I'm curious to hear right now, because you talked about how you tried to do the consultancy thing, and then you tried to do, you know, web design and that sort of stuff. How did you hear about bug bounties? Like, where did you hear about this idea that companies like PayPal and Yahoo and Google back in the day were paying hackers to hack on their websites and pay them? Was it just purely a tweet that you saw? Was it in a news article? Like, was it an accident?
I think it was just a news article, or no, it was a tweet I read. I think I even can remember the tweet from Franz Rosen, but I couldn't find it when looking at his Twitter profile today. But I think he mentioned something about getting rewarded on PayPal. And that got me so hooked, you know, being able to get money for this little JavaScript alert. And $750 was what they paid back in the day for a cross-site scripting.
I mean, that was a lot of money too, right? Like, you were in college, you said you were broke. $750 is a lot of money back then, dude.
I was broke as hell. Like, $750 was like double what I had, you know, available every month. And, you know, it would pay for my rent. It would pay for my car insurance, everything. It was a lot of money back in the day. And so, yeah, then I spent my nights hacking PayPal.
Wow. Here we are 8 years later.
8 years later.
So let's talk about the college degree that you just talked about. You said you didn't stop at your Bachelor's of Science. You also went all the way through and you got your master's in embedded hardware, I believe, right?
It's called mobile systems.
But
it's essentially embedded systems. It's a little bit with Android and iOS developing, and also some security stuff around automotive components.
Internet of Things and okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did I think your master's may be more relevant to bug bounties than your Bachelor's of Science was, but I'm curious to hear, do you think that the stuff you learned from your college degree are directly applicable to what you do as a hacker?
I would say 50-50. Okay. Not to discourage my university in any way. They had some web security lessons, which was basic as hell. But they outdated, yes, you could say so. But they also had like this hack day, like once a year, where they invite like a famous German pen testing company, and they would send out 3 people to like a one-day hacking course. Okay. And that was amazing. And next to that, what the university also allowed me to do is to play with some really powerful networks. Like we had an insanely huge network at the university, and, you know, unlimited bandwidth. And we all know, like these days we all use VPS systems, but back in the day, like getting a cloud machine was super expensive. It was not affordable at all. So in my university, we would then, you know, ask someone from the IT department whether we can have, you know, a server to play around with, and, you know, do some widespread attacks, which also got us into a lot of trouble. You know, because
you had some really fun incidents scanning. You scaled up too much, huh?
Yeah, so the problem was we were hacking like a German IT company, telecoms, mobile communication thing. And we were scanning a server, and they probably used some auto scaling with AWS. And, you know, since we had the bandwidth and the power, we could, you know, we even had it split out through multiple network interfaces. So this thing was a beast. And shout out here to my friend Julian, who did this with me back in the day. And so it was auto scaling, you know, and like a few days later, we received a call from them.
Yeah.
You know, saying what is going on, because they could literally tell it's coming from a university, but they had no idea that it was just, you know, 2 young men trying to
make some money
stuff. Yeah.
But do you think, like, for someone who wants to get to bug bounty hunting, you don't need to go get a degree from a college? You know, like you don't have to go get a college degree in computer science to learn the things that you do in bug hunting.
Not necessarily, no. But you learn the basics of networking. You learn the basics of programming, and you know a lot of useful things which don't seem to be as useful as you may think one day. Like it gets you the foundation. It gets you a better understanding of how things work, how, you know, just how the internet works, how everything is connected together, what all those terms means, and how everything works at a low level. But practically, no, it does not help you at all, unless you use the knowledge, you know, in a more
and you can learn a lot of that. You can learn a lot of that stuff on your own, right? Like if you want to learn networking, there's so many good books out there that you don't need to go to school to learn networking.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no class in university that can teach you that. But for example, like getting started into programming, and if you have zero clue about programming, and someone teaches you everything about programming from the ground up, the fundamentals, everything, and you have to get in your your exercises and everything, then you teach yourself in a way to know how to write a program, how to effectively use it, and you develop your own knowledge up on that foundation.
Yeah. What about certificates? Do you have any certificates?
Absolutely none. I don't believe in certificates.
You don't have your CEH?
No. No, absolutely none. Yeah.
Do you think... So I think you're not in the same boat with this, but I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think certificates help with the bug bounty hunting and hacker mentality?
I mean, most of the ones out there are overly expensive. They are around about $4,000 to get it. And again, everything that they teach is open source knowledge already.
Yeah.
Like you don't learn anything in your OSCE that someone didn't always do, like already blogged about in some way.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
The resources are out there. We just got to look for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the big problem. Like you need to collect them all together. You need to like task yourself in doing them. You need to do those buffer overflow exercises yourself. And it's really harder to get into, but yeah, you don't really need it, although it's very much appreciated by everyone you work with. If you're doing it professionally, like a pen testing background, and they see you have an OSCE and OSCP, it means a lot to them. But
yeah. I mean, if you're very, very brand new to InfoSec, you want to get your first job in InfoSec, you have the money to go get a certificate like OSCP, go for it. It will get you past
Absolutely.
HR. But
absolutely.
And also, like, if you don't have any offensive security experience, I think it gives you the mentality of how to think like an attacker. And I think a lot of people that want to be bug bounty hunters that aren't successful as they want to be is because they lack the hacker mentality of how do I own this company? How do I do a threat model in a sense of bug hunting to know how to approach this organization to a point if I own them, I'm going to get the max reward.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely true.
So you talked about programming.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a prerequisite or a requirement for somebody to become a good or successful bug hunter?
No, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a must-have, but I managed, and especially with my Recon, I managed to gain so much more from automating things, from parsing output like you do on the command line all the time with JQ and everything. Like I managed to streamline everything I do so much better, so much more efficient, and so much faster than I used to do before. Like before, I would just type in all those comments all the time and creating a new folder for every target and do this and do that, and and right now it's just running one tool that I wrote and it does everything for me. I just have to wait for the results to get in.
It's a time saver, right? Like if you know how to automate your work, you don't have to write the syntax for the same tool over and over and over again. Or if you're running a task list of things you do for a target, every time a new target comes in, you automate it. You don't have to spend that 20 minutes doing it every day, and it adds up in the long run.
Exactly right. Like if you have to write all those comments out all the time, it takes a lot of time out of your day that you could use to do some practical hacking, just using Burp Suite and, clicking on the website and doing some actual web hacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you learned about XSS and then later on you wanted to find better bugs on PayPal. How did you go from learning XSS? How did you learn XSS, first of all? Like, how did you found out about XSS, you wanted to learn about it. How did you learn what XSS was and got better at it and then move on to the next topics? How did you keep learning? What was that learning process like?
It was a lot reading. Reading Twitter was essentially what I did all day. There were already quite some good people back in the day on Twitter. What was his name? Zug Afraham. Okay. He and Niels Goldschlager, they used to pwn a lot back in the day, and they had like a lot of write-ups about cross-site scripting and about everything. And whenever I read something I didn't knew about, I went to the Wikipedia page and tried to understand the fundamentals of what a cross-site scripting is, why it occurs, and I got to the point how to test it later in the stage. But I first try to understand, like, what is this? You know, why is it happening? Why is it even happening on a very low level?
Okay.
And then I try to understand like where it can occur, because that's another thing. Like you read about all the vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting, but you wouldn't imagine cross-site scripting to appear like in an XML document or in a GIF file or in, you know, everywhere it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think understanding that fundamental or those fundamentals about cross-site scripting helped me a lot in developing like a skill and, you know, also a mindset to understand where can I use it best.
So,
and where it doesn't make sense.
But how did you learn the other stuff? Is it the same process, like for IDOR, for SSRF, for all these different vuln types? How did you learn them? Like, how'd you learn this variety of different vulnerabilities?
It's always the same pattern I'm doing here. Like like even these days, like I see something and the first thing I'm doing is not trying to exploit it right away. I just try to understand it, you know, see where it can occur, how it can occur. Does it occur on any of the things I've seen in the past? Like, for example, SSRF, when I first read about it, I wasn't too impressed about it because, you know, you can ping a remote host, but
so
what's next?
Yeah,
exactly. And then I saw, I think it was also Franz Rosen, it has to be him.
It's always him.
You know, pulling AWS keys out of nowhere with SSRF, and I was blown away because I, you know, even though I understood what it was, I didn't make the connection to, you know, getting those keys. And, you know, that's always the way it goes for me. I read about it, I try to understand it, and then I see how I can best apply it to the targets that I'm hunting on.
So I'm sitting here and I'm realizing a pattern that you see someone doing this vulnerability type, you do your research, you try to learn it, and you try to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Do you, how do you practice? Do you go after vulnerable web apps, or do you actually go on a target and look for that?
I never did any vulnerable web apps, probably for the same reason I don't do CTFs too much, or I never do them, because it's somehow frustrating knowing that there is something, and it drives me absolutely mad shit crazy, knowing that there is something and I have to get it, and I know there is a way, and I know that I need to find it now. Like it's insanely hard for me to do, and if I do it on a web app, like someone developed with security in his mind, and find something there, it's way more rewarding than knowing that there is something, if that makes sense.
What's your take on CTFs? You said something that you don't do CTFs. Why don't you like doing CTFs?
Most of the ones I saw were like too spaced out. You know, the situations you encounter there are far away from what you see in a real life scenario. And for me, everything that I do in bug bounty is a CTF. Like if I approach a target, it's a CTF for me. And the prize is, it's not gonna be any points or a flag, it's gonna be a reward. And every bug bounty I look at, I kinda just think to myself, okay, this is a CTF, there's something in there, Patrick, just go ahead and find it.
Do you think that it's beneficial for someone to do CTFs as a new bug hunter? Do you think that would help them?
Absolutely. Like I've seen the best people in the business doing CTFs left and right. Like for example, MongoBug or
MongoDB or not MongoDB, Mongo BC bug,
yeah.
Mongo. MongoDB. What the fuck?
Like he has an amazing knowledge, and he knows how to apply the knowledge he got from CTFs to bug bounties, and he's amazingly successful with that. But it never worked out for me.
But so you think that there is a value, it's just not for you?
There is absolutely a value, but no, not for me. It's just not my type of learning things.
How has Triage helped with all of this? Has it helped in any way?
It did help, yes. So for those of you who don't know, I've been doing Triage since 6 or 7 years already. Like, remind me here, Ben, I think we started at Buckroad pretty early.
This was 2014 or 13, yeah.
2014, yes. So what Triage really helped me with is spotting the vulnerability immediately. Like whenever I just had to read the headline of the report and, ignoring the content of it and just get just purely to the bug and knowing where it is and like absolutely understand what it is about, like the criticality of it and what should be done next with it. Like it helped me so much just to quickly see, understand, and validate the bug.
Has Triage helped you with hacking more, or has hacking more helped you with Triage?
I think the other way around. Like hacking has helped me understand Triage way better. Like right now, I'm able to actually help customers understand the value of a bug way better because I understand the bug from from its impact level and everything. I know how to find it. I even can give them remediation advices and how they can prevent that from happening in the future. I can give them an honest opinion about how critical this is for their infrastructure, or at least
from what you can see. Yeah. Cool. Who's Mongo? We'll drop Mongo's Twitter in the chat later. Absolutely awesome guy. He's a beast. I haven't talked to him in a while. I hope he's doing okay.
I think he sort of disappeared from the whole bug bounty scene.
I think so too.
I haven't spoken to him in a while, but yeah.
I DM him once in a while, and he replies, weeks later. I just ask him like, "Hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. I just want to make sure you're good." Because he used to be a big part of the community. So if you're watching this, man, I hope you're doing okay. You don't have to reply, but I hope you're doing okay. Let's talk about Recon.
Yeah, love to.
What's Recon to you? What does that mean?
Recon is actually, for me, the process of finding things I can look into deeper.
Okay, how do you do that?
I actually have 3 VPS systems, all doing different kind of things. Like I have a really big one for around about 200 euros a month.
Oh crap!
And that's a beast. It has like 80, 90 cores.
Wow.
And it does everything for me, like subdomain enumeration, content discovery, everything of it.
Okay. What are you doing stuff in Bash, Python, Go, Ruby? A little bit of all of it?
Python all the way. I have a Python script wrapped around everything I'm doing. It works fine for now, but I have to adjust it here and then to make it work.
Okay, so you have your big giant box. What does the other two do?
Basically they are sort of backup boxes. So the way that I have my system running is it goes after a whole lot of domains, and whenever it detects that one domain becomes unresponsive for either I'm blocked or it just disappeared into nowhere, it gets sent to this other box, and the other box tries it again and see if this host is maybe still alive and I'm just blocked, because that happens a lot in today's world.
IP blocks, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the third one is for screenshotting, doing just some.
And are you transferring stuff in between?
Oh yeah, they communicate all the time, and I have some sort of a database which stores the results, and they can automatically collect the results from here, take it to there, and then try it again if they see that one host is behaving differently from what it used to do. So I'm comparing results from previous scans with the ones I'm doing at the moment, just as you do with what you just presented today, where you see the differences in the new hosts appearing.
Yeah.
I'm doing sort of that, with content that I discovered before, which was never there in the scan I did before. And so the other machine would then take this same host, change its IP address using a proxy or a VPN, and then tries it again and see how it behaves, and then sends back a result to my Slack account, and would then tell me what the output is this time from this perspective.
who do you use for your hosting?
I use Hetzner. But just before anyone wants to do like mass scan or any sort of aggressive scanning, they don't allow that. So don't do that.
Okay. Hetzner.de, I assume someone just posted it.
Yeah, exactly that one.
What tools do you use? Are there tools that you have written yourself? Are there any open source tools that you want to shout out that you use in your day-to-day recon?
So for the ones that follow me on Twitter, AMAS, it's the one tool I use.
AMAS.
And AMAS. It's AMAS? I don't know how to pronounce it.
AMAS. AMAS. Sorry, go on.
So yeah, that one I'm using a lot. It's perfect for everything I'm doing. The developer around it, Kefix, he's
Foley.
such a Jeff Foley. He's such an amazing dude. Like I DM him like every second day, asking him questions about how this works and AMAS and how that works. But he really does everything for me. Like I don't understand why people still use other tools than AMAS, especially the scripting feature, which is absolutely fantastic.
The one that just got released not too long ago. The new, yeah. AMAS is insane the way Jeff has done it. Kudos to him. If you're interested in AMAS, selfish plug right here. I did a interview with Jeff Foley in the podcast. Just look up Behind the Bounty AMAS. It should come up.
We talked a lot about Recon.dev. So
and he baked us in there too. Yeah. Jeff's been a very awesome dude. I'm very happy to see his AMAS in there. We'll come back to AMAS in a minute. What else do you use? Mass scan, Nmap. What do you do for screenshotting?
With screenshotting, I use Aquatone Flyover, I think it's called.
Okay.
I use FF.
Okay. And then what about mass scan? Do you do port scanning at all?
Not too much. I try to prevent it, but if I'm doing that, I'm using mass scan. Yeah. And with the top 100 ports, I think.
Any other tools that you have in your tool belt that you think is useful for Recon?
Yes, Recon-NG. It's super helpful for finding IP spaces, finding everything that basically belongs to a company. For those of you who haven't used it, I totally recommend it. Recon-NG. It's a fantastic tool.
So those are the only tools you rely on for your Recon?
I would say so, yeah.
What about Burp Suite? What do you do with Burp? Do you have any what do you call them? Add-ons or plugins you use on Burp?
Oh boy, I use a lot.
Give me a few.
Auth metrics, I think it's called.
Okay.
You have two accounts, and if you quickly want to see if access controls are being set correctly, you can define some rules, and then you see on the left side which ones applied and which ones not, and you can quickly see like if they messed up some access control issues. You can quickly check for IDORs. And what else do I use? I'll use Logger++.
Okay.
I use J2EE scan, I think.
J2E.
And JSON Beautifier.
I was going to say, that's going to be one that everybody almost uses.
Yeah, you have to use it. But I try to keep Burp as clean as possible because it takes a lot of my memory already. And, I have the feeling the more you feed it with plugins, the leggier it gets. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a gamble to run Chrome, Slack, Discord, and Burp Suite at the same time. Yeah.
And Spotify.
So let's talk about your Recon approach. So I give you, let's say, new target launches today.
Yeah.
Let's say site.com is our target. What do you do?
I have a script. So let me just quickly go through the AMAS process here.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Because I use everything with AMAS, but I have a lot of plugins written for AMAS that uses other tools. So I use Subfinder, find domains, like everything that is out there that does just anything differently than AMAS.
Okay.
And I have little Lua scripts that run this tool. Like whenever you start AMAS, it then takes this script that I wrote, runs it, gets the output from that tool, imports it into the AMAS database,
okay,
and then uses it for the entire process. And I have like 10 or 15 of them written already, and I'm also going to publish them if you want to use them. It's no secret at all. And so whenever I see a new Recon tool coming up, I will look at the tool, look what it does, look which APIs it uses. And if it's using one that is currently not supported in AMAS, I implement that in my search.
Okay.
And then I do AMAS and enum, and then I think I'm also resolving the IP. I store it into a database. I store it into a designated folder for this specific host. And I think that's it. And then I let it run, and whenever it's finished, I go over the results. And one other thing I do is whenever it's finished, I also look, depending on what the target scope is telling me to do, I also look the CIDRs, where the IP addresses are located. And if I see that a lot of them are, on Amazon, and I see that they are in a specific region, then I sometimes go ahead and scan this entire region, only this specific region where I see like 100 hosts of them popping up.
Yeah.
And, grab the certificates much like you do with recon.dev, and see if there are any others that may belong to the company but do not have like the full host name. Because what the one limitation that AMAS has is it only gets you a host name to an IP address. But if you have, let's say, a wildcard certificate in the certificate, it wouldn't return the IP address. And sometimes you find yourself in situations where a company only assigns a wildcard certificate to the host name and nothing else. And I want to find those IP addresses as well, because the more the better.
How do you deal with the wildcards? So if it's start.dev.site.com, you have the IP, you don't know what the host name is. How do you connect?
I usually ignore the host name, because some of them don't even have a host name, because it's just some machine, some developer spin up for, maybe just a day. Yeah. And so I completely ignore the host name for the time being and just look at the IP, see what ports are open, see what it's running on there, and see if I can get some sort of information about the target.
Okay. Do you spend a lot of time doing Recon?
To be honest, I don't. Like, I obviously do Recon every time a new program launches.
Okay.
But as soon as my whole machines are going crazy on this target, I spin up Burp and do the manual testing. Just not to miss out on anything, I run Recon. And yeah, but I do my manual part, but I want the rest in my mind that I have this part done. Yeah. And it's finding stuff. It's all good, and now I can rely, now I can just take my time and do some burp suit action.
How do you approach a target that's not Recon, like heavy, when it's like a single app that's a huge app? How do you approach it?
So usually starting burp, intercepting everything, starting from the sign up process, and then go through every functionality this website has, see if there's anything, premium features, go through everything that web application has to offer, look at every input field that it has, not directly exploiting it, because that's dangerous, because sometimes you get yourself blocked so quickly just by putting in a payload. And then just looking at the tools being used for this web application, and once I found out in what language this application is written, what frameworks are being used, I then select my payloads wisely and use them to check for server-side template injections, anything file upload related. And I also try to understand like the whole flow of the application, like where everything is stored, like what are the connections. I love to do mind maps. And so I see like if this request is being sent out, it's actually going to api.whatever.com. And then I try to enumerate everything related to the API, see which endpoints are out there, see which APIs the endpoint is communicating with. Like sometimes you have /version1/version3. And then I go ahead and do the same thing with a second account and do everything exactly the same. And if there are multiple account levels, I create each one of them. And then I use auth metrics, I think it's called. And then I check for all those cross account issues, see whether I can access things from the other account, see if this account is allowed to do this and that API call. It's a lot of manual work, but it's worth it in the end, I would say.
Do you take a lot of notes when you hack?
I wish. I don't.
I don't either. I don't feel bad.
No. Sometimes I open up a web application and, you know, Chrome reminds me that you already have an account of that web application. And I'm just like, no, I've never seen this before, Chrome. You must be lying here. But yeah, it then was a web application I did test before, but I just forgot about it because I have so many right now. Yeah. And to everyone watching at the moment, I can totally recommend to get yourself a wildcard email address. Because what I'm doing right now is I just, you know, use company name and my wildcard domain behind. And I use that for creating accounts for every website that I'm using.
Yeah.
Because so you lose track of all of those passwords at one point.
Yeah, you just go Patrick plus Airbnb at whatever.com. That's what I've been doing for mine.
Yeah, and I tried to separate it from my private one because you get so much, so many email lists to unsubscribe from.
Yep. How do you pick a target?
Tough one. I have my favorite ones, I would say, which I super like the security teams about. And then I mostly like interesting targets, not only wide scope, but interesting functionalities inside of the web application. It's one thing I like. And then obviously programs that treat me well, you know, just by being super nice, super friendly, super reactive to what I do. And yeah.
Anything to do with like scope, how big the company is, none of that matters really?
Oh yeah, I mean, the moment Red Bull launched, I was completely, you know, I was like, okay, I mean, stop everything. Like, okay, server shut down. We need to do Red Bull right now because I was so stoked that they have everything that they own is in scope. Like, no matter what you're gonna do, everything is in scope. Like, every IP address we own, every subsidiary we own, every, you know, just everything. And that's exactly what I want to do. It's like everything that they own, I need to find. And that's like the challenge that I'm going about all the time. And I love those kind of things. But sometimes I get lost in the recon process because I have too many things at once. And like there are so many interesting host names that I don't even know where to start. And sometimes I just need this one application, you know, I can completely focus on. And you know, go from there. But it really depends on my mood. Like sometimes when I'm lazy, I'm just like, okay, let's hack them. Let's see if my tool is still doing what it should do. And if it still gives me results, because if it doesn't give me results, there's something wrong with my tool and I need to adjust it again. And that's also probably one important thing is never rely on the tools you wrote once, because it's an improving process, people getting better at what they're doing. And you need to improve your scripts all the time. And you also need to erase things from your tool list at one point, because I've seen people, you know, combining all of those Recon tools they find on GitHub and putting it in one big mass and then do stuff with it. But you need to like limit your tool set because the resources you have on your machine, they're also limited. And you want to be effective and you want to be fast. because there are people out there that do things super smart. If I can name one, it would be Damien.
Yeah.
He's doing some insanely sick things with his automation. Some things I would never even thought about, and it's working out well for him.
Very cool. What do you recommend for people that want to just get started, whether if it's with Recon or just bug hunting? Where do they start? What programs should they hack on? How should they learn?
Oh, that's a tough one. Personally, I wouldn't recommend to go for the big ones, because if you're a beginner and you have those 10,000 results in front of you, you don't even know where to start. So get yourself the OS top 10, although it sounds boring, and just try them out. It will work. And try them on a smaller target, maybe even VDP, and see if you can get anything out of that. Or go back and see if you can get lucky with Recon. But Recon only worked out for me since 3 years ago. Like before that, I never had any luck with Recon, really.
Yeah.
Because it was just too much for me to digest in a way. Like I've seen all those screenshots. I've seen all those, random hosts popping up everywhere. But I didn't really know what to do with them, how to approach them. Because, there can be anything on any host. And it's just so hard to choose your target right. Because in the end, you're going to lose so much time just by picking the right target to hack on.
Yeah. Do you think that it's valuable for hackers to spend time on VDPs? For new hackers, at least?
Everything that you do hack comes back one day, and I would say it's always a lesson that you're gonna learn, and it doesn't matter if you learn the lesson in a VDP or a bug bounty program. It's the hacking that you have to do, and it's more rewarding if you find something, and that's more likely to happen on a VDP, unfortunately. But it gets you going. Like you can try out your tool set on a VDP. If it works there, it will one day work out on a regular bug bounty program as well, if you do things differently from everyone else. Or maybe not differently, but you need to adjust your tool set so it works for you, and so you understand what is going on.
Yeah, my thing is don't copy how people do things. Learn it and implement your own way of doing those things. Do it to a way that fits your workflow, your mental, whatever that you're going through.
Exactly right. And that's one thing I'm preaching a lot is develop your own skill sets, develop your own niche in a way. And if you copy people, then don't copy them, but copy them and make it better.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is about. It's doing it better than the people out there. Because if someone drops a proof of concept for some Jira vulnerability, it's gonna take 10 minutes for some people to implement that into their tool and to scan it across the board and submit it into all the bounty programs. And if you're not that person, you need to be smarter and implement it better than the person that does it already, because you are up against very good people already.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be frustrated at times. But if you just do things smarter or just slightly different than other people, you will succeed. For an example, on a very known target, I found a file called logs.php.
Mm-hmm.
In my word list, I had log.php, but never logs.php. And it's such it's just the plural of the word. And I found myself to be so successful just by using the content discovery word list with plurals and other things commonly used in language. And you find the most sensitive things just by adjusting your payload discovery list in a way that people are using the words. Like common speak, I think there was Shubs that did it.
Yeah.
And it's such a great it's such a great way of doing things. It's just using phrases that, you know, a developer would use and implement that into your word list and go from there.
Yeah, I think it's not like so much what word lists you use, it's how you use it and also how you improve it as you move forward. Like I average a good 50 to 60 new words a week at least added to my word list just based on stuff that I see. I go, oh shoot, never thought of this thing. Like you see directory listing and you go, oh, that's a good file. I didn't even think of that. Throw it in there.
So I have a very special approach here. I have one script that actually detects what, you know, language is being used at the web application I'm seeing. And this script then instruments my server to use word lists based on the specific application and even the language it is using to get like proper results. Because if you're sending like a word list with 100,000 files, 100,000 words to a server, it may hit, it may not. And making it smart, making it based on the application itself is so much more successful from my experience. And that's why I'm only using like word lists with 100 words probably in it. There are files you find on every server potentially, but you know, going into specific platforms just as ASPX, there are like commonly used file names which I grab from CommonSpeak and other sources, combine them together. And then I also have a mechanism that creates some words based on the application hostname. Like, I don't know, if you see yahoo.com, it would create things like yahoo_backup.zip or any other archive name. And it uses some common things that people have found, especially on disclosed reports on HackerOne. There's one project, and I don't know exactly what his name was, but he developed a tool that goes through every disclosed report at HackerOne and grabs the files that people have been found over the years in those, I don't know how many thousands we have disclosed so far.
A lot of them.
And combining those with, you know, backup words and shifting them all together was super successful.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit less hacking related.
Oh, sweet.
How do you balance work, personal life, and hacking?
I wish I would. So I do 9 to 5 triage related work at HackerOne.
Yeah.
And 5 to 3 a.m. in the morning, I do hacking. When I'm not hacking, I'm doing photography. I love going out in the nature. I love hiking and all of that things.
You love your drones.
Oh, I love my drones. Yes, I love everything about photography, creative work. I'm really into that because it's something different and something I'm really enjoying. But especially winters and, you know, in the autumn, I really love doing bug bounties all day, all night.
How many hours do you spend a week?
Bug bounties, probably, I don't know, like 40.
So you're working 40 hours and spending another 40 hacking?
Unfortunately, yes.
It's a lot of time.
But I have Red Bull coming my way, so no problem there.
How do you deal with burnouts? Do you have to be hitting burnouts at some point?
Good question. Sometimes I need a break from bug bounties, and if I see that I'm not successful, like I shut down my laptop and just be like, okay, this is not working out today, maybe tomorrow. And then I do play games, like a little bit Call of Duty. I'm very bad at it. A little bit of League of Legends, which I'm also super bad at. I'm a horrible PC gamer, by the way. I remember the one time I was at your place and, you know, playing Xbox. I think we were playing PUBG.
Yeah.
And I died like within the first minute. So yeah, nothing changed since then.
Do you take a lot of long breaks from hacking at all, or is it just overnight, few hours, or do you go for a weekend or get away from it for a weekend or something like that?
I stink at it too.
Every second weekend I take off. But there are weekends, you know, just like this weekend, and I did a lot of hacking. Like I was invited to a target, and they have binaries only in scope. And so I got myself, you know, into the whole binary world, which I never really thought I find interesting. But now that I have like this one target, which is super interesting to look at, and I'm finding all those new tools, I'm speaking to new people which are like super interested in binary things, and I learned so much. I haven't found anything, but but I've been digging into this application for, I don't know, I would say 8 hours straight today, just looking at my, you know, monitor and debugging things, setting breakpoints, just learning about the behavior and learning something new, even though you don't find anything, is super rewarding in a way for me.
Do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Oh, every day, like coming onto your screen, onto your stream, like biggest imposter of all, because I always think to myself, there are people out there that should be here at my spot right now, because they are so much better at this stuff than I am. So I deal with that all the time. Like every day I don't find a bug, I'm just like, okay, I'm worthless. I should do something else. Maybe I should do this teacher thing again. Maybe I should teach history in school. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a natural thing. It happens to all of us, man.
Yeah. Like I don't get imposter syndrome from people tweeting about reward amounts, because I know that, you know, rewards, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say anything about how good you are or how bad you are. Like for the same bug, I got $100 or 10,000 bucks. It just depends on the company and on the budget they have. But the amount itself does not necessarily speak for, you know, the brilliance of the bug, if you will.
I mean, the tweet thing, man, like it's the social media thing, right? Like you only see the good. You don't you get to see the good for a little bit of what people are doing, and you don't see the countless hours they've spent the previous month to not find any vulnerabilities.
No. And to everyone here that doesn't find any bugs, it's completely normal. Like 90% of the time I don't find any bugs, and it's fine. Because you know,
you hit that streak, right? You hit that streak where you start finding bugs back to back to back.
Exactly, and you cannot really influence it. Like it's sort of like a spell sometimes. Like I try my best and I try to be as smart as I can, and I don't find anything. And one day you just look at this application again, and you just all of a sudden find it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most frustrating part, is that, you know, if you try hard, you don't find anything. And if you just look at it randomly, you then all of a sudden find it. And it's sometimes just having a talk with someone about the topic that gets you a new way to approach things. Or just reading a tweet and then just thinking back in your head, okay, I've seen this functionality before. Let me go back to that web application and try it on there again. That's something I do a lot of times. Like I have like this database in my brain which knows exactly what language this application is using. And if I see something popping up regarding that specific web application language, then I go back and check if they have fixed that already.
I think a lot of that stuff that you just mentioned also comes with experience from not finding bugs. You learn stuff. Even though you're not finding bugs to get paid, you're gaining experience, gaining time, gaining things that you can identify things faster as you look at an application.
Exactly right, because you look at the application, even though you don't find anything, you look at the application, you try to understand it, and this process gives you the advantage in your brain that you know already what this application is doing and how is it doing it.
Yeah.
And whenever you get your new inspiration from elsewhere, then you just know what to do on this application the next time you're looking at it. And it's the same thing with like content discovery and files you may find. Like sometimes, those scanners, they give you results and it's a file and you don't even know what to do with it. But the more you look at those files, and then the more you know the history of the files that can be found on there, the more you get an idea of how to actually exploit it.
Fair enough, yeah. Did you ever have, I see a lot of people joke about, I hate the fucking mentorship jokes, but I'm going to ask this question. Did you have a mentor yourself, or anybody that directly or indirectly helped you get started in bug bounties?
No, never really had a mentor. Like people like you, I started really early with. What we had was the Skype channel.
Alcoholics OG, yep.
Alcoholics OG. And I don't think we were mentoring each other. We were sort of just exchanging, information. We were talking about things. And if you want to call that mentorship, yes, absolutely. Then this group, with Smeagol's in it, then this was my mentorship. But no, it was all about, finding the people with the same mindset, which the same interests, and, you learn from each other just automatically. Like there won't be this one person that's going to teach you everything, like your Yoda or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I think ours was just finding people that had the same skill sets and the same common goals, and then sharing with each other. And that's probably one of the best things we could have done at the time.
Absolutely. And it was also, it wasn't always about bug bounties. It was joking around. It was, just purely having fun and doing some hacking on the side.
Why is collaboration so important, since we're talking about it?
I found some of the best friends during collaboration. Mm-hmm. For example, you, but also Smeagol's. And if I may share this story here, I broke up with my girlfriend 1.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was like the downside of my life. Like I was absolutely done with everything. And then Smeagol's just randomly texted me and asked me, "Hey, you want to come to Amsterdam? He has a flat there. I can stay there." And I was just like, "Sure, let's do it." So I took a week of PTO, drove over there. He used to live together there with Melvin, also a very good friend of mine and hacker.
Yeah.
And so we just hang out for, a week, had a good time, and barely did any hacking because it was not relevant at the time. But I just met Smeagol's because we were, hacking together. And then we became friends, and, then he was there for me in a time of my life where, it's pretty dark. Yeah. And so collaboration is super important. I do it a lot. I can name some people here if you want to. Like I do a lot with Damien.
Okay.
I do a lot with Damien. Like I sometimes hack with Melvin. I hack with Smeagol's. Justin, which I recently tweeted about. It's super nice. I used to hack with Mongo. And yeah, just anyone that has an interesting target and wants to collaborate on. And I think the both of you and me, we did endless hacking together.
Yeah, we did a lot in the beginning, man.
Yeah.
I think you were the first person that I actually collaborated with in bug bounties directly.
Yeah.
I think these are almost all the questions I had for you. Last but not least, what's your best advice to people that are new and want to go into the field?
I would say never give up, but that's such a lame phrase. But it's really all about it.
Elaborate.
Like just never shut down your laptop. Like I take mine with me all the time. And look at stuff again. Don't jump around with, I know that there's a shit ton of programs out there, but don't jump around on them and, try to find this one bug that's going to make you happy. stick to the programs that you have knowledge on already.
Okay.
And try to widen the knowledge. Try to, speak to people that are experienced with that programs. Don't ask them for bugs, but just try to understand the platform in the best way possible, and do a lot of reading, and don't copy. Because if you copy, you do the same thing everyone is doing, and you will only end up with dupes. And one thing I never deal with, like I never have any dupes. Like, and it's just never happened to me, like, because I don't know, it's just the way I approach things. You don't get dupes if you don't do the same thing as everyone else is doing. And although it's tempting to just copy and paste something from someone, it's all about what you do about it, like how you approach it. You can take the idea from someone, but make it better, because otherwise everyone else will also do the same. And you're gonna get frustrated even more, because you're gonna end up with dupes, although you found something valuable. And yeah.
Fair enough. Well, usually I end the stream with a fun game.
A fun game.
I ask you some questions, and then this last portion I give you a word. You just tell me the first thing that comes into your mind.
Yep.
Let's start with the questions. First bug bounty you ever hacked on?
PayPal.
If you could hack on a program for the rest of your life, what would it be?
PayPal. I'm not allowed to hack on them anymore, so.
Do you remember your first bounty, what it was, and do you remember how much it was? I think we talked about this.
It was a reflector cross-site scripting, $750.
And do you remember what you did with the money that you made?
Yes, paid insurance for my car, which was due at the same time.
Any big purchases or accomplishments that was accomplished by bug bounties? Like anything you've done with bug bounties, earnings that you're super proud of?
My car, a flat camera, everything that I have, like everything around here, it's just everything is paid with bug bounties, so absolutely grateful for it.
What's your favorite bug type?
I know it sounds stupid, but it's remote code execution.
Okay. Any hackers you want to give a shout out to? Hackers you collaborate with, work with?
Now you make me nervous. Okay, so there is obviously you, because without you, I wouldn't be in this spot at all. Like I wouldn't be into bug bounties. Like probably would be at some school teaching. So you brought me into everything. So I'm absolutely grateful for that.
I appreciate you, man.
Then there is Smiggles, there's Melvin, there is Chinchilla, who you hosted last week.
Yep.
She's amazing, by the way. There's Jason Haddix, there's Justin, there's there's Damien, there's the entire crew. I have like a German Slack channel. It's called Käferjäger.
That's why everyone keeps saying it. Okay.
Yeah. So everyone in there, like, awesome guys, and I hope I didn't forget anyone.
I think that was a pretty good list, man. Alex is definitely a +1. Smeagol's has been an awesome friend. He's a little troll, but
he is. But Inti is as well, and I love that guy as well. Like Inti, he's amazing.
Any hackers you wish to collaborate with?
Inhibitor, Cosmin.
Oh, Cosmin, yeah.
Yeah, I met him in Belgium last year.
Yeah.
Awesome. Super friendly. He also lives in Germany. We got to talk a little bit, but like I'm looking up to him because he's doing some amazing things.
Okay. What's your favorite tool? And it can't be Burp Suite.
Can't be Burp Suite. Amos.
All right. And any hobbies besides stuff that's behind a computer?
Photography, videography.
Can we take a moment and tell people to go follow you on Instagram for these drone shots that you post?
Sure.
You're Patrick.dmg? No.
DNG.
DNG.
Yeah.
Okay.
DNG.
Follow him on Instagram. He has some really, really cool stuff. Let me just pull up some of your shots really quick. Dude, some of your drone shots were next level. Let me find these.
Yeah, don't try that at home. It also can get you into real trouble.
Just quickly showing one of them over the screen. But yeah, some really cool stuff. All right, let's play the fun part. I'll give you a word, give me a sentence, a word, whatever comes into your mind.
Okay.
Let's start with HackerOne.
Best job I've ever had, best founders. I love Jobert, I love Nikhil. It's a hacking company.
CTF.
Never done it.
Live hacking events.
Stress. A lot of stress. But good times. I miss them. I want to go back. I want to go to Vegas so bad.
Dude, it's been a while. Recon.
Super important, but not everything.
Bash.
Seashell.
Python.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Burp Suite.
Yep.
Yep is your answer?
Yeah, that's my answer. Like, I have many things to complain about. The new Burp Suite, I still use the 1.7.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. FUF or FUF.
Oh, super amazing developer. Joachim. I don't.
Yeah.
What's his name again? He's super friendly. Like I've spoken to him a lot of times. Absolutely awesome what he did there. Amazing tool.
Yeah.
Fast as hell. So absolutely recommend it. I wish it would still find subdomains rather than doing screenshots, but it's just me.
Triage.
Oh my god. Yes. Story of my life. Enjoying it every day. I've been doing it for 7 years. I don't know why I'm not burned out, but I still enjoy it till this day. So,
Damien.
Amazing hacker. Amazing tool set. Yeah, looking up to him.
Jason Haddix.
Rockstar. Living legend.
Yes.
You know, the nicest person on earth. Like, love him. Just spoke to him a few days ago.
What about XXE?
XXE, it's still around. Just look for it. You might be surprised. Whatever, like XML is used everywhere. You know, you just need to dig deep enough, and you're gonna find it.
XSS.
XSS. Yeah.
I'll give you a better one. I'll give you a last one as Amass.
Amass. Use it. Try to contribute to it. You know, it's gonna make your life so much easier. You just don't need the tools out there anymore if you use Amass.
Well, hey man, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the stream. And,
absolutely.
Can't say enough how much I appreciate you, and I'm glad that we met years ago, and it's very good to have you here as a guest.
Absolutely. So, pray emoji.
I appreciate you, man.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, let's do some hacking.
Yeah. See you, dude.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
What a legend this guy is. Patrick and I go way back. He's one of the first friends that I met through bug hunting years and years ago. And I can't say enough good things about him. So I appreciate the crap out of this guy. He's genuinely a nice guy. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Here is his info. All right, I think that's it for me. I may actually get online later tonight if I move my office over. See where it goes, and might get on. We'll see. Not sure yet. Other than that, I'll be back online tomorrow, hopefully around noon. If you have Twitch Prime, Make sure you put it into a good use. If you have Amazon Prime connected to your Twitch, you get a free subscription every month. It doesn't have to go to me, but you can send it to any of your favorite content creators. Whether it's me, Cyber Mentor, Ash Fox, whoever else you like to watch, Donut Pointer, whoever you want to watch, you can get a free sub. Thank you, Naiden, so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the new followers, all the new subscribers, all the everything you guys did today. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday with me. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.